Hello and welcome to the Blockade Runner podcast special AM edition. Good morning, Ryan.
Good morning. It is 6:07 Mountain Time here in the AM.
Yeah, 7:07 Central, but I've been up since 5:31, so it's cool. We almost always record late at night, but obviously this morning we're recording pretty early. But we're just really excited about a lot of the news coming out of San Diego Comic-Con. And I think in general we've been excited about like Star Wars product here for the last like week or two. Well, really since Force Friday 2015 or before, but like there's been a bunch of cool stuff going on both in the news and then like personally for you, Ryan, too. So it's just been a lot of cool Star Wars stuff to talk about and think about and text each other back and forth about. So we weren't necessarily planning on doing an episode this week, but here we are because there's just a lot of fun stuff in terms of Star Wars toys and also Star Wars books, right?
Yeah, and I think it was almost unexpected. I think both of us weren't really expecting a huge showing from Star Wars at San Diego, like following Celebration and D23. There was all the talk of like, oh, Lucasfilm isn't even going to be there. But then, I guess some of the partners like Del Rey Books and Marvel and Hasbro definitely were there and had a lot of Star Wars stuff to talk about, which I personally didn't really consider.
Yeah, for sure. And it's one of those things too where it's like even The Last Jedi, the movie, there was like that really cool display, which you probably saw, right, with like the costumes and stuff like that. So I mean, not like really news coming out, but yeah, a little presence. But you're right, like it kind of snuck up on us with like cool. I mean, we knew there'd be like Hasbro exclusives and stuff. I mean, I saw some of them at Star Wars Celebration, but yeah, it just kind of snuck up on us how much cool, exciting stuff there was coming out of San Diego. So, should we start with talking about toys? Do you want to start with toys?
Sure.
Okay, cool. So Hasbro did a big panel at Celebration, and we were kind of following the news. You were texting me links to a Twitter account. I'm not familiar with this Twitter account. Is this someone you know, or you just kind of came across this?
No, I just came across it because someone had retweeted them, but this person, Yogi Kai is the Twitter handle. Kai Charles, she was in the Hasbro panel and she was taking pictures of some of the slides.
Okay, cool. And then we also we're using a story here from JediBusiness.com, and JediBusiness.com has like a rundown of everything from the panel here. So we'll kind of talk about that. What are you excited about from the panel here? What are the cool announcements that you're looking forward to?
So the big one for me is the Dr. Aphra figure. We got to see like a prototype sculpt for her. If you're not familiar with the character Dr. Aphra, she comes from Kieran Gillen's Star Wars or Darth Vader run, actually, and now she has a solo book at Marvel, and she's probably like my favorite non-movie character right now. I love her look and her personality and her kind of good, kind of bad demeanor. I don't know. She's just a great character. So like this figure is happening because she won a fan poll that Hasbro did for like the next special figure that they're going to make. So she won, and now this figure is happening, and we've seen a sculpt of it. So that means it's not painted or anything, but just to give a general idea, and the figure looks great.
Yeah, and this is going to be a 3 3/4 inch figure, I believe. So maybe that's a good way to sort of like break down the announcements when we talk about all of them, is sort of like what line these things are from, or talk about what's cool from each line. But yeah, this is going to be, Dr. Afra is going to be 3 3/4 inch, but it's going to be part of the vintage collection, which Hasbro announced actually earlier in the year at Star Wars Celebration in Orlando, at a really cool panel. They announced that the vintage collection is on the way, and this is like higher quality sculpts, more articulated 3 3/4 inch figures. And those are coming out in early 2018. So Dr. Afra is part of this first wave of articulated 3 3/4 inch figures. I'm not exactly sure like how many points of articulation there are and stuff like that, but it's not the 5 POA of the standard 3 3/4 inch line.
Right.
Where
So
where are you?
what were you most excited about from this line?
From the vintage collection line, or
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I guess like I'm looking at this announcement and I'm seeing that Rey, Kylo Ren, and a First Order Stormtrooper are the other 3 figures in this first wave from the vintage collection. And I like that idea of them leading off with a heavy Force Awakens presence in this vintage collection line. I think that'll be really cool. There are a ton of figures from previous lines that are more articulated for like the classic characters that people know. So like people have had the opportunity to get like Luke Skywalker in obviously so many different forms, and there are plenty of like 3 3/4 inch Luke figures that have more articulation than what's in the current like 5 POA Star Wars toy line. But so far with the Force Awakens and like new Star Wars, if you want a 3 3/4 inch figure, you're getting like a very basic lower price 5 point of articulation figure, which I'm personally fine with. I have no problem with at all. But I know there are a lot of fans out there that they're not into the 6 inch figures. They want like 3 3/4 inch, but they want them at a higher quality than what we're getting with like the standard toy line. So the idea that like fans will be able to get like a more articulated Rey and Kylo Ren and First Order Stormtrooper in that form, like the 3 3/4 classic form factor, I think is cool. So I think that's exciting. I also think it's really exciting that there's going to be vehicles in the vintage collection. So I think that's true, right? There's going to be vehicles, or am I getting that confused with? Yeah. There's going to be an assault tank.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
With a bunch of like accessories and cool kind of details here.
A coffee mug.
A coffee mug, yeah, working treads, and
Yeah.
Kyber crystal cargo, which is very cool.
Yeah. It's interesting because for like the higher quality 3 3/4 inch figures, they do have the Black Series line of there's the 6 inch Black Series, but there's also the 3 3/4 inch Black Series, and those are still continuing as well. And those are a little premium priced. I think those are around like 11 or $12 for those figures. But they're also doing vehicles in that line as well. It looks like they're releasing a new Rey with her bike, her speeder, as well in like the higher quality Black Series line.
But that's for the 6 inch figures, I believe, isn't it?
Is it a 6 inch?
I think it's a 6. Okay, well, good question. Let's double check this. And I'm glad that you corrected me there, because I, made a obvious mistake in saying that this is the first time you could get more articulation with some of these new characters. And you're absolutely right that there is the Walmart, I think it's Walmart exclusive 3 3/4 inch Black Series line. And I've seen those on the shelves, and I'm not exactly sure what all figures there are in that line, but I know there
I've never actually bought one, so I don't know if they're just like higher quality sculpts, or if they are more, if they do have more points of articulation.
Yeah.
I've seen those, but I've never actually bought one, so I'm not totally sure.
Yeah, I haven't either. I think they are at least a little more articulated. I don't know that they're like the super articulated, but
Yeah.
yeah, good question. I guess we're not really we don't have the expertise there. But no, you said that line is going to continue.
It
Um,
seems like it. I saw pictures of like the packaging.
for the 3 3/4 Black Series. Okay.
Yeah.
Huh.
Hmm.
That's interesting because I kind of thought that the vintage collection coming out next year was going to essentially kind of replace that that line, but maybe that's just an assumption I was making. I don't know. Okay, well,
Well, actually, yeah. Maybe the Black Series packaging I saw was for 6-inch figures. Maybe you're right.
yeah,
Because I'm looking at my pictures now, and those are totally the packaging for the 6-inch figures. So, huh? Yeah, it does seem like maybe this vintage is replacing that.
yeah.
It's very early in the morning.
It is, and I don't know that Hasbro has like totally. It's possible, but I don't know that they've come out and said like, "Hey, we're replacing the 6-inch," or I mean the 3 3/4 Black Series line. I don't know that they're doing that, but it seems like these two things would. I mean, they could keep going with that, but it has that Black Series like label, which obviously people love, but um, I don't know. It seems like a really similar thing,
Hmm.
but maybe taking it out of the Black Series and putting it into the vintage collection. Number one, it's not going to be Walmart exclusive,
Yeah.
and then they can kind of have it be its own thing a little more. Because what I was going to ask you earlier when we were getting started here is where you fall with the whole 6-inch versus 3 3/4 toy kind of thing. Like, are you into both of them? Do you prefer one over the other? Like, where, because I know you had a lot of the Black Series stuff, or you had bought a lot of the Black Series stuff in the past, so I don't remember kind of where your preferences are.
Yeah, I collect both.
Okay.
Yeah, but the problem with the, I was, starting with Force Awakens. I kind of decided for myself, okay, I really want to go exclusive with these 6-inch Black Series figures. Like I want to just get those. But the problem with that is it kind of limits the amount of characters you can get, because there's way more 3 3/4 inch figures than 6-inch Black Series. So then like I kind of started running into the problem where it's like, well, I want um, I want a Ray figure with like her goggles and everything, but I in the mask, but I also want a Ray figure with those off and like the different outfits and stuff, and you're kind of limited with the Black Series because there's usually just one figure per character, and a lot of the smaller characters don't get Black Series figures. Like your Hosk 6-inch Black Series figure. Um,
Yeah.
so I've kind of started collecting both. And the other problem with the Black Series figures is they're hard to find certain characters. Like I only saw a Phasma once ever, and I bought her. But if I hadn't lucked out on her that one time, would have been like straight to eBay and like overpaying. So I kind of collect both. And I'm not like a super hardcore collector. I sort of just, if I see something cool on the shelf that I like, I grab it. I don't really go for like completionist or anything like that. So it works out better for me when I can kind of grab from both lines.
Yeah. Yeah. I like everything, obviously, but I don't have the income or the disposable, kind of cash to collect all that stuff, So I have a few 6-inch Black Series figures, and I really like them. I think they're great, but at $20 a piece,
Mhm.
I can't afford to like really get lots of them. You know what I mean? So I just kind of grab one if I see one I really really like, or I can get a good deal on one or something. I'll grab like a 6-inch figure. But that's where the appeal of the 3 3/4 inch figures come for me. Is like I love the idea of, I've talked about it on the show before, but I just love the idea of like being out at the store, getting toothpaste and whatever else you need to get at the store, and then like being like, I'll just cruise by the Star Wars aisle and see what's there. For me personally, I know I'm not everybody is this way, but for me personally, I really can't just like, well, I'm out grabbing bagels and toothpaste, I guess I'll just grab one of these $20 6-inch figures. Like I can't really quite do that. I gotta like sort of plan, am I gonna buy this thing or whatever. But if it's like, oh well, there's a Haas triplet for $5 3 3/4, like I might just throw that in the cart, you know what I mean? So that's where I'm at. Like I like the Black Series figures a lot, but I love 3 3/4 inch for the lower price point. And I even like the fact that I kind of like personally less articulation and more of like I don't want to say cheap because they look great a lot of times, but just like a more basic toy look to them. So anyway, I think it sounds like we're both fans that are pretty interested in all the stuff that they want to put out, but it's impossible to collect all of it. But yeah, I'm excited for both. Now I'm curious to see like where I'll land with this vintage collection 3 3/4 inch figures, because this is something they've done before. The higher priced, well, they're still doing, even with that Black Series 3 3/4 we were talking about, they do the higher priced better sculpts, better quality 3 3/4 inch figures, but they're higher priced, so they're going to be maybe like 12 13, I don't know how much, like they're going to be kind of expensive. And when they're getting like up over that $10 range, I don't know, I might be just more likely to grab a Black Series figure than to get like a very expensive 3 3/4 inch figure.
I think it depends on the figure. Like, for, like I said earlier, like as soon as I see that Afra, like I'm definitely buying that, because that's a figure you're only getting in this line. But then when it comes down to like, another, Rey or Poe Dameron or Kylo Ren or something like that, then it may kind of go on like a figure by figure basis. Like I'll look at the head sculpt, look at the costume, see if it's something different than something I already have on my shelf, and and just kind of play it by ear and decide from there.
Cool. Okay, well, let's because we want to talk about some books and stuff too. So, but let's just kind of go through what was announced here quickly. Since we're talking about 3 3/4, there's a bunch of 3 3/4 5 POA figures that were announced. So I'll just go through those quickly. Again, this is from Jedi Business, where we're getting this news from. So thanks to them for posting this. Leia Organa Leia Organa Hoth outfit, which is cool, and Luke on Hoth with a new Wampa. So that sounds pretty cool. Darth Vader with a new probe droid. This is again 3 3/4 5 POA. I saw this a few days ago, and this is actually super exciting. A Force Awakens Rathtar.
Yes.
And it doesn't list it here, but I thought that maybe they just showed the Rathtar with a figure, but I thought they showed him with like Tasu Leech or Balatik or something. Was it Balatik?
Yeah, I think I saw that on the package, on the leaked version, that he was in there, because then they had the picture of him like in the Rathtar's mouth.
In the Rathtar's mouth, yeah. So that's an awesome toy. I mean, that sounds like an awesome toy, and we didn't get a lot of like. Want that. We didn't get a lot of like the cool aliens and like that kind of stuff from Force Awakens. I mean, we got like the Haas triplets, as previously mentioned, but like the bigger aliens and stuff. I guess there weren't even that many, but yeah, we didn't get the Rathtar, so that's exciting.
So now this, like, I definitely want this figure, for sure. But then now I'm thinking about how much I want a Boar Gullet.
Boar Gullet. Well. Yeah, that could be cool, and that's something they could do in 3 3/4. That's something they could even do in 6-inch, because they have some aliens and creatures coming out in 6-inch Black Series line too. So Boar Gullet either way would be cool, I think, right?
Yeah.
We got Boba Fett and Han Solo from Bespin. So this is stuff we've seen before, obviously. A Darth Maul and Qui-Gon Jinn 2-pack. with these figures are 5 POA, but they have articulated wrists, I guess. So you can sort of like probably spin the lightsabers in there, or like adjust what angle the sabers are at, maybe. There's the idea there. So that's cool. But nice to see new Phantom Menace figures on the way.
Yeah, there hasn't been a new Qui-Gon figure in a while.
No. There's an Emperor Palpatine with exchangeable hands and Force Lightning, which sounds cool. So, you know, and I don't know if it's not super clear to me like what line this is part of. Based on the listing here, it just says 3 3/4, 5 POA. So I'm not sure what line that'll be part of. If this is like in the Last Jedi toy line, I guess not, but we'll have to see, because it's not listed as part of the vintage collection and it's 5 POA. But this is not something they've really been doing. Correct me if I'm wrong here. With the Last Jedi and Rogue One figures, is having like hands that can be exchanged, or like, you know, accessories like Force Lightning and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, I mean, the accessories that have been coming with the figures have been kind of ridiculous. Like, I just got I just picked up the Rogue One Darth Vader, and he comes with a rocket launcher. And I'm just like, okay. But yeah, it sounds like maybe they're moving towards accessories that make a little more sense for the characters.
Yeah. I hope so. I wasn't into the Force Awakens thing where you get like some goofy little constructible accessory with every figure, and then, you know, when you have 4 or 5 of them, you put it together to complete some kind of transforming, you know, weapon. Like I tried to keep those things, but I never put them out with my toys anywhere. Like I sort of have them in a box.
I throw them in a Ziploc bag.
Yeah. Right, which is one step from throwing them right into the garbage. You know what I mean? So, but anybody who like truly collects toys is probably puking right now hearing us say that. But like, I can't stand those things. I don't like them at all. So, okay. So then, like with the vintage collection 3 3/4, we talked about a lot of it. Rey, Kylo, First Order Stormtrooper, and Dr. Aphra. That should be cool. A Hoth Trooper, and then some Rogue One stuff too, which is awesome. So a Jyn Erso, Cassian Andor, and a Death Trooper announced for Rogue One, along with that assault tank driver and the assault tank itself, which again seems really cool, and an awesome tie-in for Rogue One.
Yeah, and it looked like the Jyn and Cassian figures were a little different. Slightly different outfits.
Okay.
I'm trying to remember where I saw the picture of them from, but it looked like you know, they were going for a different look with these than you know, just like a slightly nicer version of figures we already have. Yeah. So you know, I love those characters a lot. So like in that case, you know, since if they're different enough looking than the ones I already have on my shelf, like those I would probably pick up.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm looking at that picture now, again from the Kai Charles Twitter feed, and yeah, they definitely look really good, and much more detail, I think, in the clothing, and you know, they look like smaller Black Series level figures, you know, in terms of the quality thing, you know, more so than the standard figures. I'm just gonna grab I'm just grabbing the Jyn and Cassian I had over on my shelf. For those who are watching the show, I mean, that, you know, the outfits are actually really pretty cool on these 3 3/4 figures. So the quality is pretty good on these too, but it does look a little more detailed on the vintage.
Yeah, and just different.
Yes, different. Yeah, totally. Okay, cool. So that is what we have coming for 3 3/4 inch, I think. Black Series, there's some cool stuff too. The Rebel Fleet Trooper with a removable helmet and vest and blaster. That's cool. I think some stuff like that is probably exciting for people who collect Black Series, like, you know, try to get everything, because it's like filling in holes in the collection, assuming there hasn't been, although it sounds like maybe there was already a Rebel Fleet Trooper, because this one is a pointed. Is this one that said no beard?
No, that was the Hoth Trooper, I think.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway, yeah, like some of these, I'm not going to get super excited myself about a Rebel Fleet Trooper necessarily, but if you're somebody who's like putting together a sort of complete Black Series collection, then you want, all these different figures. So Captain Rex, this one sounds really cool. Saw some pictures of this Captain Rex, and apparently they've got Tamora Morrison's likeness like sort of mapped onto the figure for like a really good sculpt and very lifelike and realistic looking.
Yeah, it looks super good. The face sculpt looks, it's almost like Uncanny Valley.
Uh-huh.
but it is awesome. Like, it is a great looking face sculpt.
Yeah, because it's Tamora Morrison, the clone, but he's got the sort of white hair. So it's like a different looking version of what we're used to with the clones. And what does he say? It has like sort of stubble and stuff too, I think. I don't know. But yeah, he looks good. He looks good for sure. So Captain Rex, we got a Rebel Fleet Trooper, General Leia. I think that one's really exciting for a lot of people to get this General Leia figure. And that one looks really great too. And let's see what else. Oh, this one I'm excited for sure. Maz Kanata.
Yes.
Maz Kanata has been pretty underrepresented in the toy lines, I think. So yeah, but she comes with like a little chest that you can open up, and the lightsaber is in there, which is cool. She has removable goggles, or at least movable goggles, I guess. And that figure looks pretty cool too.
Yeah.
That is one, even though, like I said, I don't get all the Black Series figures, definitely not. That's one that I might spring for because it looks pretty good, and I love Maz Kanata.
Yes, definitely. That's the Leia and the Maz are the ones I'm most excited about from the Black Series line. Well, I mean, I guess not counting the San Diego Comic-Con exclusive Black Series figures.
Yeah, so let's talk about them in just a second. The other thing here listed is a dewback was announced. A dewback with a Sand Trooper. And that sounds really cool too. I don't know if, again, I'm not like the big Black Series collector. I don't know if they've done creatures and stuff in the Black Series before. I feel like they haven't, but
creatures I haven't seen, but definitely there's definitely been Black Series vehicles, because there's like that giant First Order TIE fighter that's like $200. And then there's been some like the Rey on the First Order where she comes with a big chunk of land.
Okay.
So there have been like, Black Series figures packaged in with something, but actual creatures, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but it looks really good. It looks very cool. So that's exciting. But then for me, like the must buy, like I will get these Black Series figures are the ones you just mentioned. The for now, San Diego Comic-Con exclusive Rey and Luke Skywalker Black Series combo. I'm not sure about the Rey. Actually, it may be a repack of a previous Black Series Rey. Oh no, it's not. It's a totally new costume, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a totally new costume. It's the costume from The Last Jedi, the sort of darker colors and that sort of thing. And then the Luke is obviously a brand new figure too, because this is our first, it's our first, unless you're talking about the super expensive like Japanese lines and stuff. I think it's our first Luke Skywalker toy, right? From The Force Awakens.
Old Luke,
yeah. So very exciting. It's surprising to me that they're leading with this one. I mean, I guess it's not surprising, but it just seems like it almost came out of nowhere. And we've been waiting so long for a Luke figure that I almost thought they'd make a bigger deal out of it than they did. But it's certainly exciting that it's coming, and cool that they sort of held on to it here for like a pretty crazy reveal, right? Because the other San Diego Comic-Con exclusive figures that are at the show, they announced like at Star Wars Celebration. And I remember being at that panel at Celebration thinking like, oh man, today's the day they're going to finally announce a Luke Skywalker sequel trilogy toy. And they held on to it. They didn't. So it's pretty exciting. But obviously those are for sale at San Diego Comic-Con this weekend. They're probably sold out. I don't know. I guess they maybe have a certain amount for each day. So if you want to try to buy one of those like through Comic-Con, people at Comic-Con or resellers, you can. But I know that a certain quantity of them will be going up on the Hasbro shop in mid-August too.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah. I don't know how many, but I think I'll have to get the exact date, but they are going to be selling some on the Hasbro shop. I think they do that with most of the exclusives. But I think those sell out like in under an hour, if not quicker than that. So if you want one, I would say, you do what you want to do, but they're going to be probably selling for crazy amounts right now on eBay and stuff. Mm-hmm. But you do have a chance of buying it at like retail price on the Hasbro shop. Or it's one of those things where once the demand dies down, that'll probably go down at least a little bit in price on the reseller market too, from where they're going to be this weekend, which I would think is going to be crazy.
Yeah. I think the retail price I read somewhere is $50 for the two-pack.
Yeah, two-pack. But it's cool because it's like they come together in a two-pack, like you said, and it kind of folds out, and very cool. But then I would assume that I don't know that they announced anything about it at the show. I don't think they did, because maybe that takes some of the wind out of the sails of the two-pack exclusive. But obviously, I would think this fall, both of those figures will become available individually. Maybe with less kind of accoutrement and maybe even fewer accessories or whatever, but the basic figures I would think should be available.
Different packaging.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. So yeah, a lot of cool toy announcements and things coming up, and this is not even really getting into the Last Jedi toy line, which is coming September 1st. So we know some of that stuff. We don't know all of it, but yeah, there's a lot of cool Star Wars toy stuff happening already, and that's not even counting the major line for the new movie that will be releasing in a little over a month.
Yeah.
Should we transition over to talking about books at this point?
Sounds good.
Okay. So there was a bunch of Last Jedi and Star Wars related books that were announced, both books and comics, at Comic-Con. And I didn't really follow this as it was being announced. I don't know if you did too well. None of the panels are streaming or anything like that, so you can kind of follow on Twitter and blogs and stuff. But StarWars.com put up a post last night on their official blog with a list of everything coming and a bunch of like cover photos and stuff like that. So I think that's a really good resource here to look at what's on the way. Should we just like kind of go through and talk about a little bit one by one?
Yeah, and so like some of these had already been announced. Some of them have, I've already pre-ordered some of these, but others this was the first time I was seeing them. So I'm not totally sure. Like, I don't know if I can totally break down exactly what was announced and what was already like had placeholders on Amazon or whatever. But basically we're looking at our Journey to the Force Awakens books, which a lot of those had been announced. And then we're looking at the actual books that will release the day of the movie on December 15th.
Yeah, totally. And yeah, for sure, some of this stuff has been announced, but I don't think we've really talked about almost any of it. So
Yeah.
we can talk about it a little bit here. The first thing on the blog post is this Star Wars comic from IDW Comics, which is called Star Wars Adventures. And this one is aimed at obviously a younger audience, but I actually love the way the art looks. I think it looks really cool.
Yeah.
And I'm, expecting in a comic called Star Wars Adventures, a very lighthearted, sort of just fun Star Wars comic, and probably not worried too much about like where it fits in canon, or if I'm
Mhm.
supposed to consider this stuff as actually having happened. It's just like, let's take characters we love, put them in situations that are going to be really fun, and make some colorful, joyful comics about it. That's what I'm hoping for anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, no, this book looks super fun. I'm definitely curious about it.
All right, cool. But that obviously that's been announced for a while, but they were showing that off this weekend. There are covers here for a Mace Windu comic. Did we know that was coming? We
Yes,
did
that
know
was
about that.
announced. That was announced a month or two ago.
Not out yet though, the first issue.
I don't believe so.
Okay, because the cover here on the Star Wars blog is issue 3, I guess. So
Yeah.
they must have there must be some decent amount of information about it out there, but that looks cool. And then I know you were excited about the Thrawn novel adaptation that was, I think that was announced yesterday, right?
Yes. Yeah, and this is written by Jody Hauser, who I actually just met last month. She's writing a series I really like called Mother Panic, and it's part of Gerard Way's Young Animal line over at DC. I met her at Denver Comic Con to get that signed, and I also she wrote the Rogue One comic adaptation. So I got that signed as well. She's super cool, super talented, and I think it's awesome that the Thrawn novel, which I still have not read, is getting a comic adaptation, because I might get to this first.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's the thing. I am interested in checking out the comic, but like you, I haven't read the novel yet. And I'd probably rather do the novel first, but
Mm.
realistically, I might end up doing the comic first. So we'll see. But yeah, that sounds pretty cool. And Thrawn is a character that people love and has been showing up in a lot of places lately. So cool to see them continue to kind of push him.
Mhm.
Next one here is Ultimate Lego Star Wars. That's cool. I have the Ultimate Star Wars book up on the shelf over there, and it's just like a cool kind of like encyclopedia style Star Wars book. So I'm assuming that this is similar, but with all the Star Wars Lego products that are available, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't bought any of the Lego books.
Yeah, yeah. And you don't buy the Lego sets either, right?
No,
No, I
no.
don't do. Speaking of not being able to afford,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't do that either. So, yeah, but there are obviously a lot of major Star Wars Lego fans out there. So,
Mhm.
or like Lego is like the thing that a certain demographic of Star Wars fans, like that's what they collect and that's what they really love in terms of Star Wars products. So I'm sure there'll be a big audience for that book, but I don't know that either one of us are necessarily part of that.
Yeah.
The next one, though, I don't know if we are the target audience for this book, but I am definitely excited to get it. And that's Forces of Destiny, Tales of Hope and Courage, as told by Maz Kanata.
Yeah.
Um, I'm not sure. This looks like a book that's probably aimed towards like maybe the 7 to 10 age range or something like that.
Mhm.
Probably like a beyond a picture book, like it's a chapter book, but I would guess like lots of illustrations and things like that based on
Mhm.
the cover here. But yeah, it's got Jin and Sabine and um, Rey and Leia and Padme and Ahsoka all on the cover. So I'm guessing, some stories about all of those characters. And the Maz Kanata narrative thing is cool. I mean, I expected to see more Maz Kanata kind of bookending the Forces of Destiny episodes. We didn't get that. We just have her sort of like, she's got that little line that she delivers in the beginning of them. I'd love it if in the second wave of Forces of Destiny cartoons, if we get a Maz Kanata one, but I don't know if that's in the cards or not. But if we can get a little more of her sort of narration and storytelling in this book, I would be pretty excited about that.
Unless these are retellings of the episodes.
Well, even if they are, if they're retellings that are kind of more through the lens of Maz Kanata telling those stories, maybe.
Yeah.
That could be cool.
Yeah, and I'm definitely interested in this, especially like on the illustration side, because I'm a huge fan of the art style in Forces of Destiny. It's like a really beautiful book with a lot of illustrations in that style. I think that will be really cool. And also, we neglected to mention the Forces of Destiny figures, I guess dolls, essentially. An 11-inch line of Forces of Destiny toys coming out as well for some of these characters.
Yeah, well, actually, some of those are starting to pop up on shelves already.
Oh, really?
Yes, the street date is August 1st, but I've seen people in some of the, like, Star Wars collector groups and stuff I am part of on Facebook. People have been posting that they've been finding those. Yeah, and I know you've been making a lot of toy runs lately, Ryan, so maybe that's of particular interest to you, huh?
I will keep an eye out, because I definitely want the Ahsoka one, because that it looks super, super good. So
cool. Yeah. No, I mean, those figures, I don't know if you were aware of them before or not, but they were announced alongside the show, back at Star Wars Celebration.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I saw those in the case there at Star Wars Celebration, and they look pretty cool. Some of them, like one comes with a Chewbacca that looks weird, but cool. And one comes with a Yoda, and they're like, the Yoda's kind of like fuzzy, and the Chewbacca has like hair, obviously like actual hair, and like, yeah, they look really cool. And I think the one that was new that was announced is the Padme. There's a Padme that was announced yesterday.
Yes. Okay.
So you're right, though. We did miss that, and we should have mentioned that one. And she looks really cool. She's got an outfit that you don't usually see her in, and cool like helmet accessory. And yeah, I think these are great. Now these are more like in the $20 to even $30 range as well. These toys, Force of Destiny. So I don't think I'll be getting too many of them, but I would like to get at least one or two of them. And I have a 3-year-old. He's almost 4, but I could definitely see him playing with these because he likes some of the bigger, like we have some of the like Jax Pacifics. I don't know if they're like 12-inch or whatever size Star Wars toys. He likes those a lot. Whereas I think older kids don't usually maybe play with the giant toys as much, not giant, but the bigger toys as much. But I think he might like these Forces of Destiny's figures as well.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So keep an eye out for those on store shelves. Maybe that's part of why things have been like clearanced as much as they have been and on sale as much as they have been, is they're making some room for those Forces of Destiny figures.
Oh,
All right, we got
I got a friend here.
Is that Luna?
That is Yuna.
Oh, Yuna.
In her shoulder perch right now.
I like it. Cool. Well, let's talk about the next book on the list here, and this one is really exciting. Star Wars Canto Bight. There are 4 authors listed for this one, and so I'm assuming it is a collection of maybe 4 stories about Canto Bight, maybe more than 4, but it looks like 4 authors involved. So I mean, that's exciting on a couple different levels. I think learning more about Canto Bight is super cool. And then we were talking about it over text and stuff. Like I actually loved the aliens and creatures books or stories from before the Force Awakens. I thought those are really really fun.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and since Canto Bight seems to be an extremely interesting and colorful place in The Last Jedi, I just have a feeling there are some wonderfully weird characters in that location that they could explore in this book.
Yeah, definitely. And as for the authors, Saladin Ahmed is someone I've never actually read any of his stuff, but I know he's a really well regarded author, and this is actually his first Star Wars work. Ray Carson and Mira Grant, I'm not familiar with. Have you heard? Have you read anything by them?
No, not that I know of. I don't think so.
Okay, but then John Jackson Miller is a veteran Star Wars author who I believe kicked off the new line of books with oh geez, what was the first book in the new canon?
It's the one about uh,
About
Kanan and
Kanan and
Hera.
Hera.
Hold on.
A new
A New Dawn.
a new dawn. Yes. So he definitely uh, kicked off that new line
Yeah,
of
the new
books
canon.
in style.
Yeah, and I really liked A New Dawn.
Mhm.
I think that's one of the best so far, and I haven't read it, but I believe John Jackson Miller is the author of Kenobi, and that is a book that people still talk about as like an essential um, Star Wars book. Am I right about that? Is he the author of Kenobi? Pretty
Is
sure.
that in the Legends? Is
Yeah,
that Legends like
yeah, it is. It is.
former
But
EU? Okay.
yeah,
I have not read that. No.
okay. But that's one that people really, really like and talk about all the time. So, yeah, definitely a good pedigree here on Star Wars Canto Bight. But I just can't wait for the weirdness that I think we're going to get in that book.
Yeah, totally.
There's a World of Reading book here, a leader named Leia. That looks cool. These are, like little paperbacks that are a couple bucks a piece and, for 5-year-old kids. So, but cool nonetheless.
Mm-hmm.
Another one called The Power of the Force, which it looks like I bet that one's for maybe a little bit older kids, but still kind of a picture book,
Mm-hmm.
early reader style book. More golden books. Did you ever get any of those, Ryan? I know you don't have
Oh yeah.
kids, but you have the
Oh
golden
yeah.
books.
Yep. I will definitely be buying this one as well because man, that art is so good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. So that's just a really fun collectible, and they've been doing a bunch of golden books. They started with just the movies. They did a golden book
Mm-hmm.
for each movie, but since then they've done like I Am a Pilot and I Am a Jedi, and a bunch of different books, and those are really fun. This one looks like, I don't know if there's a lot of times they do like the golden book and then they have like the bigger version of it, the big golden book or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But the cover here that's on the blog says a big golden book, so maybe this is like only a bigger one, or maybe it's both. I'm not sure, but that should be good. The Legends of Luke Skywalker by Ken Liu.
Yes.
Beautiful cover. I love the cover.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the idea of a Luke Skywalker book as part of the journey to The Last Jedi.
Yes, and the way this book is told also is super interesting because it's stories. It's essentially I think it was in the Anthony Bresnikan EW piece on the books that I read this, where someone from Del Rey or Lucasfilm was talking about how these are kind of like hand-me-down tales that people tell about Luke Skywalker, and there may be like some truth in there. They may be totally true. They may not be very true at all. And they may be from different perspectives. But these are I think the representative described them as like, these are the stories that Rey and Finn heard about Luke Skywalker.
Oh wow, that's super cool. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that because that's great because we can I kind of take this approach to a lot of like Star Wars books and stuff, especially the ones that are geared towards younger audiences. But I love that idea because it's like I can just read it and relax and not worry about like. I like the idea of a book that's going to be building the legend of Luke Skywalker rather than like informing me on like concrete details about his life and stuff. I'd love to like read a comic or read a book where I think like, oh, this is a cool thing that Luke Skywalker could have done or could have been involved in, and then kind of reserve mainly like the movies as like for me what he truly was, or like his true story. So,
yeah.
But yeah, just the idea that they would frame it that way as like these are the myths surrounding Luke Skywalker, obviously like helps build the sort of mythic interpretation or qualities of him as a character. And yeah, I mean I can't say how exciting that makes this project sound to me. I love that idea.
Yeah, and I hope they do a bit with perspective, because I would love to see like the stories that Finn hears when he's in the Imperial Army, like maybe those would come colored in a different perspective, if he's being told them by like other Imperials, compared to like maybe the stories Rey is hearing on Jakku from different like workers and scavengers there.
Yeah. Yeah, that
Could
would
be
be
really
awesome.
cool.
That would be a really cool approach for sure. The next book here is from Claudia Gray, who I think we both really like. You've met Claudia Gray, I think, right?
I have, yes.
Yeah, and Claudia Gray is the author of Lost Stars and also Bloodline. And we've known about this book, I think, at least for a little while, have we not? Leia, Princess of Alderaan. But she's obviously a character or she's an author, Claudia Gray, who knows Leia really well, and I think she's for sure 2 for 2 here in Star Wars books. People love both. Well, I love both Lost Stars and Bloodline, so this should be really exciting.
Yeah, and this is her at, I believe, like 15 and 16 years old, kind of coming to terms with her position and her responsibilities, and maybe inklings of who she might be, or some realizations that she's maybe a little different.
Yeah, that should be cool. And I mean, the Lost Stars was very much like the young adult style book, or at least dealt with characters in that age group, that age range. Then Bloodline was kind of more of the standard Star Wars novel kind of thing. I mean, stylistically, it wasn't that different necessarily from Lost Stars, but I guess Lost Stars demonstrates that she's really strong with the teenage Star Wars character, because that's something that could, I think, be tricky for a lot of writers and could maybe not always come across the best, but she can definitely do that really well. So yeah, that should be awesome. Next book on our list here, I know that you are super excited for as well, which is Phasma by Delilah S. Dawson. What do we know about Phasma?
The novel is going to be Phasma, I guess, like through her young adulthood, through how she rose in the Imperial ranks.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, that's a character we know almost nothing about, I would say. So to learn more about her is going to be cool. We'll also learn more about her in Star Wars Captain Phasma, which this, I'm assuming, is this the comic?
Yes, and okay. this one
shot?
No, I think it's a 6-issue miniseries. Okay. It's at least 6 issues, because I know for the trade paperback listing on Amazon, it's issues 1 through 6. So I'm assuming it will probably be 6 issues, kind of like they did with those smaller or it may even be 4 issues. I'm not sure. But they did early on with the Star Wars comics. They did like the series like Lando and Princess Leia that were just like a few issues telling like one story. This, I believe, is the story of how Captain Phasma gets out of the trash compactor. And what she does after that.
Yeah, and the cover features like Starkiller Base and Rey and Kylo Ren fighting in the snow on Starkiller Base and stuff. So clearly, it's tied into that story in The Force Awakens. But I think seeing things with regarding Phasma, maybe kind of where she was, what she was doing, and what her part of like that story is that we really didn't see on screen very much, which was a pretty consistent and legitimate complaint about The Force Awakens. Like Phasma was a really cool character that we didn't get a lot.
Was literally thrown away.
Yeah. So hopefully this comic can go help a little bit in correcting that, and then I think we're going to get more Phasma for sure in The Last Jedi. So
real quick, I just want to mention the writers of both of these Phasma stories. Delilah S. Dawson wrote the short story, what was it, The Perfect Weapon?
The Perfect Weapon, yeah, about what's her name?
That was
I want to say Baze Natal, but then I'm thinking like, well, no, Baze is from Rogue One, so
I know it was the lady who
Grumgar's associate in the leather.
Yes,
in
reported the droid to the Empire. In Force Awakens, but that's a really cool sort of like espionage short story. I really enjoyed that one in the Journey to the Force Awakens books. And then the Captain Phasma comic is written by Kelly Thompson, who is currently writing Hawkeye for Marvel, and I've read the first volume of that, and it is excellent. She's a really great writer. So I think both of these Phasma books are in super good hands.
Cool. Okay, there are a ton of books in the Journey to The Last Jedi, lots of smaller books. So I'm going to kind of skip over a lot of these because there are some heavy hitters here towards the end of the list, and I'm running low on time. So, and there's not much to say about like the Last Jedi coloring book and the Build-A-Droid book. Although I'm pretty excited about this Glow in the Dark Starfighter sticker activity book. There's a lot of stuff like that. We've got like build, there's like the deluxe book and 3D wood model collectible wood art book for BB-8 and an A-Wing. And there's just a bunch of cool stuff like that. Star Wars, absolutely everything you need to know, updated and expanded. I don't have that book yet, so that's cool.
I have the original one.
Okay. I don't like the cover very much.
Nope.
And also the title is I feel like I know a lot of stuff about Star Wars already, so I have never knew what to make of that book. But I have heard people say that they really like it. So
it's fun to flip through.
Okay, cool. I mean, there's a lot of Star Wars books that are like Ultimate Star Wars, and there's a lot of Star Wars books that are just like great reference material books.
Dumps.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, more activity books. There's a book coming out called Stormtroopers Beyond the Armor, which features a foreword by John Boyega and a really cool cover. I think that's, again, more like one of those sort of informational books, but all about the Stormtroopers. So
it's a Ryder Windham joint. So, he's a classic Star Wars name.
Yeah, and Adam Bray, too. So,
yeah.
But then there's, as we move further down the list here, there is a book that we have to stop and talk about because
I think we're both on the same one right now.
It may be the most exciting and fun book announced as part of this Journey to the Last Jedi initiative, and that is Star Wars: Chewie and the Porgs. This looks like a little golden book, like it's a picture book for children. Chewbacca looks extremely cute. The Porgs look unbelievably cute.
Yes.
Wow. Yeah. I don't know what there's to say about this except for it's so cute and an obvious immediate day one purchase.
Yeah. Yep. And we did learn at San Diego Comic-Con that a young a baby porg is known as a porglet.
A porglet. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Um, yes. Porg fever is sweeping the nation right now, and I think it's only going to intensify on the journey to The Last Jedi.
Yes.
All right. Next up here is Cobalt Squadron.
Mm-hmm.
I can tell by the cover art that I'm going to love this book because it's part of the series of like the young adult reader, like hardcover black and red covers with
Mm-hmm.
is Phil Noto? Yeah, Phil Noto does the cover art. I was going to say it's definitely
And
his style if it's not him, but
probably the internal illustrations as well.
yeah. And so there was a bunch of cool books like this preceding The Force Awakens, and I think maybe like one or two for Rogue One. But anyways, I get all these; they're amazing. And this one is about Cobalt Squadron, and it features Rose on the cover.
Yes.
Apparently, Cobalt Squadron is made up of courageous bomber pilots and technicians. So I think Rose and her sister both on the cover there.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know anything about Cobalt Squadron, obviously. So
yeah, I'm gonna have to read this book to find out. I cannot wait to learn more about Rose.
yeah,
Like I'm super excited for that character.
yeah, it should be awesome. And there's another like children's book here, Rose and Finn's Mission. That should be great. Star Wars 5-Minute Story Strike Back. We have the 5-Minute Stories book here. That is a lot of fun, and this one seems to have maybe some Last Jedi specific content because Rose is on the cover. So, along with a bunch of other characters, but that should be cool. The original 5-Minute Stories children's book, it was stories from like all Star Wars eras and all three trilogies. So, looks like more of that new stories. So that's cool. Okay, a couple more. The Art of Star Wars: The Last Jedi with a beautiful painting on the cover.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the Art of Star Wars, or the Art of Force Awakens and the Art of Rogue One were both, I mean, probably my favorite books that came out surrounding those movies. They're incredible. Totally essential. Yeah, yep. Totally essential. They're amazing. We're not getting making of books, and I think this is as close as we're going to come. Mm-hmm. They follow pre-production, production, and post-production as far as the art design and look of the movies goes. And yeah, they're just incredible. So obviously, I cannot wait for this. And I cannot say enough about this painting on the cover because it is, it's everything. It's amazing. Star Wars: The Visual Dictionary. I'm sorry, The Last Jedi: The Visual Dictionary. Again, of course, we expect this, but it's been announced, written by Pablo Hidalgo, as always.
Essential, pretty much.
Also essential. Yes, these are amazing too. I remember the days after. I've talked about it. I talk about it all the time, but it's such one of my favorite memories. The days after The Force Awakens, just like living in the art of and the visual dictionary books and soaking up every little detail I could about the world of the sequel trilogy. So really fun books, and incredibly excited for those. Incredible cross sections. That looks cool, and it has this new ship on the cover. Ryan, I don't know if you saw, but there's a leaked image of the box art for, or not the box art, but the packaging for this toy. Did you see that?
Yes. Yep.
And it's escaping me what it's called right now. It's the ski skimmer, something like that. And that's the name of that ship, but that's what's on the cover of Incredible Cross Sections. There's been one of these for each of the recent movies. Ski Speeder. There we go. Ski Speeder. So cool to know what that is called. And obviously we'll find out a lot more about that and the other ships of The Last Jedi in that book. I don't actually have the Incredible Cross Sections books for Force Awakens or Rogue One, but
I have it for Force Awakens.
Yeah, I'd like to get those. So movie making magic of Star Wars creatures and aliens. That's from Abrams books. And usually if it's something Star Wars coming from Abrams, I'm there. So that looks cool. Although it looks to be based on the cover, I'd say it looks like it's maybe more geared towards kids, but I guess we'll see.
Yeah. I don't know. There's interviews with Neil Scanlon, Phil Chang, and Dave Filoni. So I think just right there,
yeah,
that kind of makes it essential.
Yeah, And actually, I know I read this last night and I forgot about it, but I'm looking at it again now, and this is, I think this is amazing. The first in an immersive line of behind the scenes books for kids. I love that.
Hmm.
That's awesome. Because I love, the art of Star Wars and even the visual dictionaries and stuff. But
Hmm.
I guess specifically art of Star Wars is like behind the scenes. That's not a book my kids are going to read at all, and that's not a
Yeah.
book that's going to get my kids excited about like filmmaking. But
Hmm.
this seems like something that could, so that's really cool.
Yeah.
Another Star Wars cookbook, BB-8.
Awaken
ATE.
to the force of breakfast and brunch.
Can you get on board, Ryan?
Oh, definitely. I'm a huge fan of, I mean, it's one of my favorite foods on the cover here. It's waffles, and it's one of my favorite droids. So that is I mean, that's a match made in heaven for me.
Yeah. Very cool. Okay, a couple more kids' books, sticker books.
Mhm.
Make your own TIE silencer, which was revealed to be the name of Kylo Ren's TIE fighter in The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
And sticker collections and stuff like that. So a bunch of cool things there. I remember getting the sticker collection book for The Force Awakens on Force Friday. So hopefully this comes out on Force Friday too. And that was just awesome to get because you're seeing all kinds of like designs and characters and things that are from a new movie that you might not otherwise see yet. So that's that's exciting for me. Other activity books, and then we have the junior novelization written by Michael Kogi of The Last Jedi, and then the actual novelization written by Jason Fry.
Yep. And Jason Fry did, I don't remember which one he did, but he co-wrote, I think, one of the Journey to the Force Awakens, those hardcover black and red ones we were talking about with the Noto art.
He wrote The Weapon of a Jedi.
Okay.
And actually, I think he wrote Moving Target too, the Princess Leia one. That's what I'm seeing listed here on his
Okay.
wiki page.
Okay.
And those are both awesome.
Yeah.
He wrote the Servants of the Empire books, which I've never read, but those are about Zer Leonis, which is the kid that Ezra meets when he's like kind of in undercover in Stormtrooper school in Star Wars Rebels. Those sounded cool. He wrote Star Wars Race Survival Guide, which I have, and
Oh yeah,
that's
I
a
have
cool
that
book
as well.
too. So he's done a bunch of really great Star Wars stuff. So yeah, but I really enjoyed Weapon of a Jedi and Moving Target. So I mean, I'm definitely looking forward to the novelization from him, and I feel like a lot of us didn't necessarily love the novelization for The Force Awakens. So I think there's room for improvement in terms of the novelization for Last Jedi, and I think Jason Fry could be somebody who could do a really good job with it.
Yeah.
Last thing here before we wrap up, I'm looking at Jason Fry's wiki page, and he did write a book for Wizards of the Coast called Kyle Katarn's Tale. So,
oh my goodness.
I don't know. That makes me nervous because I don't like Kyle Katarn, but he didn't create the character. It's okay.
We'll talk about this when we get to Dark Forces in our Power of the 90s series.
Yeah, that should be fun. That should definitely be fun. Okay, well, it's been a little bit of like a news blast episode here, Ryan, but there was just a lot of really cool, fun stuff in terms of toys and books. I want to say that if you have made it through this episode and you want to know more about this from people who are actual experts on these topics, that there's two podcasts I would recommend. In terms of toys, Star Wars toys, there's a podcast I love called Toy Run, and that is we got our news from Jedi Business, and that's actually kind of co-run by JediBusiness.com, and that's a really good Star Wars toys podcast. And those guys put out a show every single week, and they will talk about the Star Wars toys news from San Diego Comic-Con in detail. And I would definitely check that out if you're looking for more information and maybe more comprehensive information on the Star Wars toys. And then Ryan, I know you and I both listen to the Jedi Journals podcast, which is a Star Wars books podcast. And again, that's like comprehensive. They do an hour and a half long episode every month talking about every Star Wars release. I mean, down to like any magazine that's released with a Star Wars picture on the cover.
Yeah, coloring books. They go deep on coloring books.
They go deep on what books are being released and even like where to find them and stuff like that. So that's a great podcast too. But I'm glad that we were able to get together this morning and sort of like talk about this stuff while it was still fresh and exciting news for us. And I mean, I'm just like, I'm getting giddy here talking about this stuff and thinking about it, because like Force Friday is almost here. And then just the idea of like the journey to The Last Jedi and all the amazing books that are going to come out of that, both before the movie comes out and after, is just crazy exciting.
Yeah, I mean, now is the time. Like, if you need to get caught up, I'm trying to use what little bit of a summer break I have left to kind of get caught up and get current with the comics and as many novels as I can get through, because once this journey starts, it's going to be a lot.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely true. Yeah, I'm reading a book that's not a Star Wars book right now, and I'm almost thinking to myself as you say that, like, oh, maybe I should put that book down and just go straight Star Wars, because there's so much for me to catch up on before the journey to The Last Jedi officially kicks off. So,
yeah.
All right, cool. Well, I'm going to have to wrap it up there. So we will be back soon with another episode of the Blockade Runner podcast. Keep an eye on our blog, blockaderunnerpodcast.com, and our YouTube channel, because we have some fun stuff going on. We've started our Power of the 90s series, and we're looking at each year in that decade, an episode a month, and then also supporting videos and blog posts and stuff like that. So there's actually a lot going on with Blockade Runner in terms of like videos and stuff like that I think if you only listen to the audio podcast, you might miss. So if you want to subscribe on YouTube, that'd be great. And again, check out the blog, blockaderunnerpodcast.com. Ryan, you just did a fun video of Star Wars Demolition, a PS1 Star Wars game, kind of like Twisted Metal style.
Yep, that is a thing that exists.
Yeah. And I had a lot of fun watching that video. I don't know if I'm going to pick up the game or not, although with the Dreamcast version out there, I might want to.
Yeah, I would get the Dreamcast version if you were going to get one. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, until then, Ryan, you can be found on Twitter at
Brawn Dwarf, BRAWNDWARF.
And I'm on Twitter for the Blockade Runner at Blockade Run. So follow us there, and we'll be back soon with more Star Wars talk.